Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to day two of Campus Climate Core's daily COP stream. We're so glad to have each and every one of you here. Without further ado, let's go over the daily briefing. So today, President Lula, as well as many other world leaders who are attending COP30, given the fact that today is Wednesday, the middle of the second week, there was a great deal of discussion involving many of the carbon markets. In fact, today at COP was the theme was about carbon markets, which is going to segment very well with our speaker today. One of the other things that we wanted to showcase to you was especially President Lula has been here every single day at COP, which is unusual for world leaders. Last year at Azerbaijan, the president of Azerbaijan was only there during the first days and the last day of COP. And in previous years, many of the presidents of each of these individual countries actually only attended a maximum of 3 days of the total of the 2 weeks at each COP conference. However, today, President Lula of Brazil has been attending both day or has attended each day, including today, Wednesday. So it's been kind of unusual, especially given the fact that President Lula has come under quite a bit of pressure by the local press, both here in Brazil and across the world, for his treatment of the indigenous people who are attending the conference. Last night, our team at Campus Climate Corps had to withdraw because the COP conference venue was actually closed due to the pressure being put on them by the indigenous folks who actually broke into the conference, folks who were not invited to the COP convention, which was kind of an interesting experience. Given the fact that Belém is located at the mouth of the Amazon, it seems unwieldy for the convention and venue to have been closed off to many of the indigenous folks who are largely impacted by the results of deforestation. In fact, for those of you keeping track at home, 19% of the total length of the Amazon, or the total circumference of the Amazon, has actually been cut down due to deforestation. And there are many predictors that if that number actually reaches 20%, which is just a single percentage point away, the Amazon will actually undergo a process called savannization, which only takes place every 10,000 years, which is essentially going to take the Amazon from a carbon sink to a carbon source, thus ending the positive reproductive cycle of the Amazon rainforest, acting as the net consumer of carbon, net exuder of oxygen, and instead going to a process where it will actually shrink over time, thus becoming a source instead of a carbon sink. Now, I'm actually quite excited to have our speaker for today join us, whose name is Gustavo Rapoport, who is an agronomic engineer from the University of Sao Paulo, who will actually be talking quite a bit on this sort of content. So we're just waiting on our guest speaker to show up for today.
Shoot, they said they were already in the room. They said they were already in the room.
I do not see them at the moment. Let's see if I can ensure we have our guest speaker for our audience today. One of the other more important points that happened here at the COP conference was actually the media was actually restricted for the first time in COP convention history from attending the delegates room, which is quite interesting. Most of the folks who have press passes, at least at the convention center for many of the events in the past, were given, at least if you had a press pass, you were actually welcome to attend, if not actually involve yourself, at least attend many of the events taking place behind the scenes. But that clearly has not happened here at this COP, as I had actually heard from many of the folks in the press rooms themselves that they were not actually allowed inside the press con, or they were not allowed inside the delegate offices for the first time ever. Okay, and if folks will give us just a moment, once again, we are dealing with just a slight issue with our guest speaker attending our conference today. If you could check your email, I just sent you the invite link. As always, if you have any questions, any comments or concerns, please feel free to share them and we will address them appropriately. In the meantime, while we are waiting for our guest speaker, we're actually going to have Dr. Esteban Rotafili introduce a couple interviews that he was able to get today. And I will actually have Dr. Rotafili introduce those today. Esteban, if I could have you come over, I'll have you do the Ocean Pavilion speaker and then the Hulkman interview. So everybody, please welcome Dr. Esteban Rodafila.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Rock, for presenting me. So we had two very interesting interviews. One is a speaker from the Ocean Pavilion who actually today had her presentation. So let's just jump to it. Let me share and play. Good morning again. We are here with Kerstin Berkens, currently doing her PhD at none less than Scripps Institutions of Oceanography at UC San Diego. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Would you mind telling our audience at Campus Climate Corps about your PhD research?
Yeah, so I am an observational physical oceanographer. That means I go out to sea, I collect data from the ocean, and my particular area of research is air-sea interactions, or that small-scale physics that control how our atmosphere and how our ocean talk to each other. They're the two big reservoirs of fluid that control our climate. And in particular, I think about energy and how that moves through the system. All these kind of small scale but very important physics that we need to get right in order to be able to make really good climate models and ocean models and be able to predict, mitigate, and adapt to climate change.
Indeed. Good ocean models for good climate policy.
Exactly.
So you will be leading a session on the top 5 ocean action items to watch at COP30. Would you mind telling us a little bit about those actions, top climate action items? We'll try not to bring too many spoilers.
Too many details,
right?
Exactly. Not too many spoilers. But yeah, so we are a group of students at Scripps who our mission here with the Ocean Pavilion is really to make sure that the oceans get more airtime and get more attention when it comes to climate change, right? Because they are how they buffer us from climate change. They've absorbed 30% of the excess CO2 that we humans have put in the ocean, and 90% of the excess heat associated with that CO2, those two CO2 emissions, right? So it's a fantastic buffer, but the oceans are changing, and we need to change and understand what is happening and how that works to be able to really use the oceans as the buffer on the climate that it is, but also protect it.
Yeah, the ocean pump might change.
Exactly.
It's changing as we go.
Exactly. So we've chosen 5 ocean action items to watch at COP30. So it's continued observations to make sure we're keeping track of what's happening in the ocean. It is, blue climate solutions. We're thinking seagrass, marine CO2 removal, etc. Blue finance, scaling that, making sure that we really get, make the most out of blue carbon markets, etc., etc.
Indeed.
It is protecting biodiversity. We have the 30 by 30 to try to make 30% of the ocean a marine protected area by 2030. We have the High Seas Treaty, trying to protect the...
Yes, now we have the High Seas Treaty.
Exactly, trying to protect the oceans that are beyond national jurisdiction. And then last, but maybe most important, we have, the human-ocean connection.
Indeed.
Right?
Of course.
All these coastal communities, all of these parts of the world, billions of people rely on the ocean for their daily food, right? It's a source of income, it's a source of protection, et cetera, et cetera. And so, we would just really want to talk a little bit about each of these 5 topics and what we hope will come out of this COP in terms of just concrete action and measures to protect and safeguard our oceans.
Yeah, that's amazing. This is on Wednesday?
On Wednesday at 1:30.
1:30 local time, GMT -3.
Right here in the Ocean Pavilion.
Right here in the Ocean Pavilion. We will make sure to put a link.
Please do.
And since your work is so astonishing, would you mind telling us a little bit about your day-to-day? As always, recognizing that no day is the same as the next one.
Exactly. Well, when I'm not at COP talking about oceans, I am in San Diego, and either it's a computer day and I just write a bunch of code and make figures and try to understand the data, which is not always super fun. But my favorite kind of work day is when I go to sea, when I live on board research boats, and I've been on research boats in all parts of the ocean, and you're out there really in the elements, really on the waves, and you're feeling, the ocean's force. It's my favorite part of my job. It really helps me understand the thing that I'm studying better, being out there collecting data.
I bet.
Yes, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Finally, just looking with a broader lens, what do you hope to accomplish here at COP30 ultimately?
Ultimately, my dream scenario would be that people really, really recognize how incredibly important our oceans are for almost every aspect of marine, of life on this planet, right? Climate change, food, sources of income, just like weather protection, everything, like cultural connections, they're essential. We're 65% water, right?
Yes.
Like there's water is so important.
So important.
And that needs to be reflected in the COP texts and in the on the big global climate agenda. Because believe it or not, the word ocean was not in the negotiation texts from COP until less than a decade ago, which is astonishing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially
So that's what we're here
given
trying
the
to do.
ocean pump.
Exactly. The buffer against climate change, all of these things. So
it's still a new item.
It's still, exactly. It's not getting the attention it needs. So that's what we're trying to do here.
And full disclosure, we're 65% water, but we're losing it by the minute.
It is very hot in here.
Okay, well, Justin Beckens, all the best in your PhD
Thank
research.
you so much.
I'm sure you'll do excellently.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure to meet you.
Likewise. Thank you. Bye.
Oh, here we are. And there you have it, folks. A student from Scripps Oceanography Institution at UC San Diego. We have our guests already, so we'll jump into that and we'll check the next interview later on in the program.
All right. So I'd like to thank Dr. Esteban Rodafili for that wonderful video and that presentation interview that he was able to conduct. That being said, I do have some today. Our guest speakers who will be joining the Campus Climate Corps team. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce them. So Ettore and Gustavo, welcome so much to the Campus Climate Corps program. We're very glad to have you on board. Can you guys hear me okay?
Thank you so much for the invite. It's a pleasure for us to be here.
Very good. Yeah, we're very excited to have you on board the program. As you may know, Campus Climate Corps is a group of representing U.S. university students across the USA. So many of our questions may come from the viewers who are attendees and students registered with Campus Climate Corps or outside. As a reminder for those of us joining, these folks are, Ettore and Gustavo represent RED, as if I am understanding that correctly, you both are representatives of the RED Plus program, correct?
Yes.
Very, very good. Would you mind giving us a brief overview for our student audience on what the RED program is?
So hello everyone, thanks for the invitation. My name is Gustavo, and me and Ettore, we both work for the company VR Carbon. It's a Brazilian company, and we work mainly with nature-based solutions, and our main activity is developing RED projects. That is reduction of emissions from degradation and or deforestation. Do you want to elaborate?
And it's a pleasure for us to be here. Nice to meet you, everyone. My name is Ettore, and we work as project coordinators in VR Carbon, and we mainly develop RED projects here. And like Gustavo said, the reduction emissions from degradation and or deforestation. is forest projects that where we mainly do the conservation of, or the preservation of those forests. And our focus is here in Brazil, so we work mainly in the Brazilian Amazon. Yeah, and that's it, please.
Very good, very good. So again, thank you for joining us on the program. Our first question comes from Maria. Thank you so much for the question, Maria. So she asks, I know that Campus Climate Corps has been involved in a trip down the Amazon River, but for the Red Plus program, I have a single question. How does Red Plus balance the dual goals of carbon reduction and local community development? And if I may, I believe that question is in tune with the idea of how does the Red Plus program manage how our goals are to reduce carbon in our emissions, but how does that how is that balanced effectively with how we're treating indigenous and local communities?
Okay, that's a great question. Thank you so much. Yeah, so basically we have two types of carbon projects, yes, and we divide it in voluntary market and the jurisdictional market. The jurisdictional market is basically the projects that are developed in in public lands, so in conservation units, in a settlement projects in indigenous lands, and other public lands that are not being used for some reason. And the voluntary market is a separate market that arises from a social demand, yes. So basically, in the last years, we have faced the climate changes, yes, and the population has understand that the climate changes are more uh, hard to work with, and we needed to do something. So, for by the popular pressure, the companies and the private sector has created the voluntary market just to be aligned with the sustainable idea that comes from the society. Yes. So when the red projects were were created in one of the COPs too, in the year I believe in 2007, and from there the idea was to protect the forests in in some country. I don't know the word. Sorry. Uh, we have created this mechanism to develop projects in lands that were only for the government and just for some governments. And with the time, the red has grown, and all the countries was like has some obligations to do with the reduction of emissions and the adaptations and the mitigations of the climate changes. So separating these two ideas, yes, the carbon market, the voluntary carbon market and the jurisdictional, I can answer better this question, yeah.
Mhm.
So when you develop a carbon project, you are generating an asset. Yes, the like when we develop our projects, we develop to generate VCUs that are verified carbon units. That is the unit that you can sell for a company or the company can buy. Yeah, and we measure it in 1 ton of carbon equivalent. So all the greenhouse gases emissions are converted to carbon, just to simplify and to to create a standard. Yes, so we can develop this project in private lands or in public lands, and all the credits that we generated, they are sold for companies or governments that needed to compensate their emissions. And when we sell these credits, we receive a lot of money, and all of the money are that are raised from the carbon project is converted to activities for the not only for the local communities, indigenous lands, but for the conservation of biodiversity, for improvement of the mitigation and adaptation of the the climate changes. So basically, we we how can I say we
Reallocate.
reallocate the benefits for these communities and these people from the process of creating the project, developing it, and selling these units, the
Carbon equivalent units.
yes.
Very good, very good. And I appreciate that answer. Our next question comes from Jen Cleo, which they ask, and I think this is a good segue from the last question or from what you've just answered. What are the unique obstacles that you think you face in the Amazon or in Brazil as compared to other places across the world? In other words, what are the unique challenges that you might face that other places across the world might not?
So that's not what we might face, but I can tell with our experience, our
Mhm.
personal experience in our company. And in Amazon, we have a large amount of different forests, peoples, kinds of peoples, cultures. Yeah, the Amazon is very big. Here in Brazil, it occupies, I believe, 7 or 8 states. Yeah, so it's a forest that have a lot of changes inside of itself. So in the biome here in Brazil, we like to say that Amazon is not a biome; it's like 10 biomes inside one. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we have these very different kinds of people too. So we have like the people who lives near the rivers. We have the people who lives in settlements that are more inside the forests. We have the indigenous peoples too that are completely different from these other ones, and each one of these groups it's very different to approach and conversate with them.
They have different needs, different habits, and other than that, I think I can say that in Brazil, mainly in Amazon, we have a low governance. It's a very large area, and it's like some places we can say it's a no man's land. So the state has a it's very difficult uh, to reach these people and to enforce the law. So I think it's one of the challenges also.
Of course. And speaking of said challenge, what are the tactics that your organization implements in order to ensure that local indigenous communities are incorporated when you make your decisions as an organization?
So aligned with various guidelines, we have participative meetings. So we uh, together with the community, we develop activities. Uh,
Sorry, before this participative approach that we have to do something that is called free, prior, and informed consent. Yeah. So the standard that we use to develop our projects, they require this when a group of people are going to be affected by the project, not only for the activities from the project, but like if they have to stop their degradation. That is a normal process for them to create like maniva and other crops. And the carbon project has tell them, oh, you have to stop to deforestation, degrade this area. So you are affecting the way of life that for the people, for that people. Yes, you are affecting the livelihood of from the from that people. So you have to make an approach with local people and to the public institutions that take care. For example, the indigenous lands here in Brazil, they are coordinated by FUNAI, that is an institutional organization. And so we have first to approach these institutions and their leaders and all this the systems that is behind the communities. So after we can reach the community and do this participative approach, so we have basically we do a lot of meetings with these communities in the start. We go a lot of times there to speak with them, to explain the project, to explain the risks, benefits that they are going to receive during the project development. And only after all these conversations and their approval, we have the okay to do the project. So if a community is affected by the project and they are not okay with the project, we cannot develop it. Okay.
Very good, very good. Well, that concludes our segment today for our guest speakers. Ettore and Gustavo, thank you so much for joining us today with the Campus Climate Corps program and for your wonderful, insightful answers. All of us here at the program and our student audience, we're so very grateful that you took the time to speak to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.
All right, take care now. Okay, our next speaker for today's program is going to be Jeffrey Dismukes, who had some time to actually go around today, not just in the blue zone, but the green zone as well. So without further ado, I'm going to invite Jeffrey to join us. And let's see here. Okay, so without further ado, here is Jeffrey Dismukes.
You can just help me click the screen share.
All you gotta do is just click the very top there as you're ready to share images.
Okay.
So although these are the images you shared.
Okay, got it. Hi, everyone. Basically, we left off last night with me talking about what was going on in the blue zone and the large spectacle of all that. And today, besides my 14,000 steps in the blue zone that I did yesterday, I made it all the way out to the green zone. And for those of you who may not know, the green zone was originally designed for people like us, observers, to kind of keep us separate while the bigwigs were doing their business. But through lobbying, the observers were finally able to push their way into the green zone, and we get passes to into the blue zone. We get passes to actually observe the plenary sessions and the negotiations in the blue zone. But now the green zone is basically an area where everyone who does not have the 7 years to wait for a pass to the blue zone and has been participating in COP for that long, but still some worthwhile organizations are able to go into the green zone. And they've also kind of used the green zone as a trap to make sure that the people who are possibly protesting cannot reach the blue zone. And that's what happened last night. That's why I was unable to upload the images from yesterday, because as Rock explained earlier, we all got evacuated from the blue zone at around 5:30, right at the time that I was uploading images. And I wasn't able to report on this last night, but now that it's out in the news, I can report that what happened was several indigenous people, fairly large crowd of indigenous people from the green zone, marched over to the blue zone and actually broke through security to get into
the blue zone, which was quite shocking, obviously, to the security people. Unfortunately, they didn't get that far, and certainly didn't get their voices in front of the delegates in any way, shape, or form, but it did make an impression, and I suppose that was a good thing. Also, as Rock mentioned, President Lula is here all week long. One of the things that he is getting flack for is the fact that he took a yacht from Rio de Janeiro to arrive here, and that yacht goes through 155 liters of diesel fuel burning into the atmosphere per hour, and that's an 80-hour one-way trip. So along with spending a lot of money to be here, he also spent a lot of carbon. Also, Gavin Newsom has arrived here. I got a chance to shake his hand yesterday. But we still have to wonder, are these politicians just showing up for the show, or is there actually going to be something accomplished from their presence here? So I took a trip over to the Green Zone today, which has turned into, from what was originally meant to be kind of an informal area for those who couldn't get into the Blue Zone. Now it has turned into basically a corporate fair. The booths in the Green Zone cost $100,000 US for the smallest booth, and so it is now kind of turned into a place where only the wealthy can buy booths. The furries show up to entertain the children. That was the hopeful message that I received in the Green Zone today. Was there was a lot of children and a lot of youth. The government went out of their way to invite the entire city, and so the city is coming out en masse to come into air conditioning, which is nice for the people who live here because most of them do not have air conditioning. And so the kids are having a great time. The youth is having a great time. But there's also some very good panel discussions and very good exhibits going on. In fact, the guest speakers tonight I met in the Green Zone from BR Carbon, and they're the ones working with the carbon market to try to get both the government and private individuals to conserve forest and practice regenerative forestry. This is, and you can see these are pretty much just the common folk that are coming in and getting exposed to all this, which I think is a good thing. There was a great panel discussion about the need for climate education in every aspect of school, starting in primary school, and I think that was a great thing. And so while most of the Green Zone was all about the corporations, Mercedes was there with exhibits of their new giant electric semi-truck. Toyota was there, of course. There was still a lot of really serious discussions on climate that were exposing the general public. And there were quite a few indigenous folks wandering around, and there was a protest today in the Green Zone, and that's a good thing too. And so these people are the people who are really trying to get their voices heard, because they are the people, as we observed on our journey down the Amazon, that are really on the front line. And so it's wonderful that they have showed up here at COP in mass, trying their very best to get their voices heard. And we can only hope that it is making a difference, and that the policy makers are at least paying attention and maybe got a little bit of a wake-up call last night when they broke through the security zone. So that's the latest report from my perspective from the COP. And now I guess I'll turn that back over to Rock, our moderator, and wonderful to see you all here. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Jeff, for that insightful look into COP30 from the Green Zone perspective. For those of you who have been regular attendees of our channel, you might remember that there is a phrase that we use early and often, which is study hard, protest harder. And I think that rings true even today. For those who attended COP30 in the Green Zone and the Blue Zone, there have been a number of protests from young and Indigenous people that we've been witnessing, which is excellent. Because even in this place, which is designed to prevent attendees that are protesting, there are still folks who still make it all the way out here to ensure that they have their voice heard. And as you all are quite aware, our Campus Climate Corps program exists to do just that, to represent all of you folks who may not be able to be here in person, but to still carry your spirit here all the way to COP30. Without further ado, I believe Esteban has one more interview to share today, and that'll close out our program for this evening. So Esteban, I will give you the floor for one more time, and let me go ahead and bring this up, if you don't mind also sharing what exactly this interview is as well. Here we go. There you go.
All right, everyone. We are going to hear from Dr. Haltman. He is the director of the Global Center for Sustainability at the University of Maryland, and has been 2 times a special senior advisor to a special envoy on climate from the president. So without further ado, let's go to the interview.
We're here with Dr. Haltman, the Director of Global Sustainability at the University of Maryland. How do you do?
Oh, I'm doing fine. We just had a great event here with
Indeed.
Governor Lujan Grisham and Governor Newsom from California. Yeah.
Would you like to tell our audience of college students about your Center for Global Sustainability? The global aspect is particularly interesting in the sense that, well, you just didn't do a sustainability center for just the local issues. You really have an encompassing view.
Yeah, so let me just do a quick intro. So my name is Nate Holtman. I'm the director and founder of the Center for Global Sustainability at the University of Maryland. I've also served in government a couple of times, a couple of years with the Obama White House, and then twice with the Biden administration in the Office of the Special Presidential Envoy for Climate. And throughout that time, thank you. It was an honor to serve. So our view is that we are part of a global community, and one of the ways that we do our work is in the CGS. We do a lot of discussion with both governments and stakeholders around the world, but also at home. Our philosophy is first get your own house in order. So we do a lot of work with our own state of Maryland, of course, other states in the United States. We work with the America's All In Coalition and have for many years to understand what the opportunities for additional action are in the U.S. from both subnational and, when possible, from our national government. But we also do similar types of activities partnering around the world with research institutions in other countries and also working with other governments.
Right. So your center offers both research opportunities but also curricula for graduate students.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, and I have to say to those out there, this is my 20th COP. My first COP was COP3 in Kyoto, and I did actually start as a graduate student in my first COP.
See.
So you can see where it got me here ultimately. So keep it up, and get in touch if it's helpful. And then in terms of our opportunities at the University of Maryland, there are many different departments, many different programs. There's real strength in environmental sciences across the university, other types of climate-related work. There's other types of work that you all may be doing. Obviously, take a look.
Yeah.
CGS, my center, is primarily a research center. We're about a center of about almost 100 people, but primarily doing research based in the School of Public Policy, although
Wonderful.
We work with a lot of departments around the campus. However, we have a lot of research assistants, and that's kind of, I think, for us and for me, our primary way to help you is to work with you on the work that we do, and that's kind of how we do our impact. We work through our research, our work like at the COPs, our work with governments, that depends on a lot of research and collaboration.
Yes, and you put together a center that does STEM research in context of public policy. So
that's right.
I think that's particularly valuable.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
It's been an honor.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody, and good luck at your COP.
Thank you.
And there we have it, folks. Let me pass the screen to Roca Bushauri for the last words for today's transmission. And we'll for sure see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Esteban, Jeff, and our guest speakers for today. I think we've had a wonderful program. And for each of you joining from the USA or anywhere else across the world, keep in mind you're always welcome to send in your questions, comments, and concerns, and we will do our best to share them across the program. For those of you tuning in tomorrow, you will have a special guest speaker, Mayor Harvey Ward, who will be joining us for our program to talk about how the challenges of local government can be faced when dealing with the climate crisis. So for those of you attending and for those of you watching for our broadcast when it's later posted, thank you so much for joining us.